What's up, everybody? Thanks for tuning in to Fan Culture episode 35. We got Sekani, we got Brandon here. How y'all doing?
Chilling, chilling.
All
Doing
right.
good. KD episode.
Yeah. Shout out to everyone that tuned into our last episode with Chris Haynes. It was a super fun episode, a lot of content for you guys. So hopefully you're able to check that out. We've got it on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Anchor. Just check it out. It's a great episode. But this time we're gonna go ahead and start with The Last Dance. The Last Dance episodes 3 and 4 premiered over the weekend. And we got a lot to talk about with that. So both of you guys watched episodes 3 and 4, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
Yeah.
I know they focused a lot on Rodman and on Phil Jackson for these past couple episodes. But what were some of your guys' takeaways from those last 2 episodes?
I'll let you go first, Sekani. You're a Bulls fan.
I'd say I Rodman was like that player growing up that was like the person you didn't want to really like, but he seemed so cool because he had colored hair and tattoos, like as a kid to
Yeah.
me. And so seeing a bit more about like really his work ethic and his dedication to the game was not that I didn't think that I was there or that I hadn't even heard about it before, but I guess within context of this particular season, as well as hearing it from other players who played with him, it was nice to hear how like separate he was able to keep his off the court stuff and
Still
basketball life.
produce.
Exactly, like he was a monster of rebounding and defensive, like Pat Bev before Pat Bev knew who he was, um, and sort of just that dog who was clearly integral to the Pistons being able to get to where they got in the early '90s as well. Um, but yeah,
I just think his story is such a fascinating story. Like
it really
like
is.
coming from like really hard upbringing and then working his tail off to like make a team, his high school team, and then balling out of control there, and then like getting a chance to play fast forward play like Pistons and then win championship with them. And
Yeah,
I mean, like I think like what Sakani was saying, like his work ethic is crazy, and I think he set like the blueprint for like the Pat Beverleys of like today, and like the Tony Allens, like that real pesky defense, like really kind of like blue collar, hard nosed defense that like what makes the NBA so great. So I think growing up for me, he was like that anti-hero, that like people love to hate,
yeah,
and just like the crazy funky hair colors. Like yeah, he was kind of like just like that character. It was almost like like the Monstars, like how like they're when they got like those superpowers, like their personalities were like crazy, but like that was just him. And like Sakani was saying, he could do it. Well, I shouldn't say he could do it on and off the floor, but like he partied mad crazy and still like got
still
the
produced.
job done. Yeah, which is insane. So
He
now it
was
was
like one of
cool
the first.
seeing that.
Yeah, exactly. I feel like he was one of the first, like, I guess what you could say, divas of the NBA, where like off-court antics and on-court antics were sort of the norm. Like, because it's not like he didn't have things that he did on court that made him just as a figure, uh, or just as big as a figure as off court. Because I mean, like they were almost two in the same. Like he was, like his greatness on
Yeah.
court was just as big a news as him wearing a wedding dress, him being married to Madonna, him
Okay.
like just his life, his whole life became sort of this spectacle where you're kind of amazed that he was able to keep up both of these, a crazy hard party lifestyle.
It's like he had a rock
And
star. He was a rock star and like an NBA player, like in one.
literally like rock star,
Rock
the
star
hard,
lifestyle.
live hard, die young type lifestyle, it seemed.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
But it's
mean, I know the
amazing
one
that,
thing. Go ahead.
go ahead, Sid. No, go ahead, Sid.
Oh, no, because I'm going off topic from that. So no, go ahead.
Okay, well, I was gonna say I was kind of switching here into Phil, which is that it was amazing that those two were able to get along
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
sort of have the relationship that they had, so that Dennis was able to be the best version of himself for the team. Um, I think had Dennis not had Phil there, I don't know if that team would have worked with a different coach.
Well, a lot of teams, I feel like, and this is kind of like what I was saying earlier with like the Cowboys, and we'll get into that like a little later on. Like I feel like it's you have to be really good at managing people, you know what I mean,
Yeah,
organizations, and that's why my front office get blamed a lot because yeah, I feel like they should take more onus on like being able to manage those different personality types, but also just like a lot of times it feels like a perfect storm where who would just say like he would have worked on that team if Phil Jackson didn't coach that team. You know what I mean? So
sure.
um, it's just weird
But
how life happens
Phil
like
wanted him
that.
there though, right?
Yeah, no,
Yeah,
they like you said, you got along like well. I'm just saying like if Phil Jackson wasn't the team, wasn't the coach, like
Hmm.
would there still be that same type of relationship between player and coach with whoever else
With whoever the other coach would have been. Yeah.
would have been? Yeah,
yeah. I mean, the thing that I appreciated about Rodman, probably some of the most, was his high basketball IQ, where he got into
Yeah.
the particulars about, okay, well, Jordan shoots it this way, and it's got this kind of
It's gonna
rotational.
come off. It's gonna
It's going
come
to
yes,
come
off
off the
this way.
rim this way. I mean, when you think about it like this, especially with the way that basketball was played in the late 80s and the 90s, you had, your traditional power forward was, 6'9", 6'10", 6'11". You always had a center on the court that's 6'11", 7 feet, 7'1", whatever. So
Mhm.
Rodman was always like maybe the fifth tallest player on the court at all times, yet he was
How
still
tall was he?
averaging, he was 6'8".
6'8". Okay, yeah.
So I mean, and who knows? Some people will tell you 6'7". So
Wait,
basically,
and what
think about
position did he play? He played power forward.
power
Did he?
forward,
Power forward.
power forward. Yeah. So
Because
Scott, if
Scully
you
was
think about
small.
that, yeah. So he's like the fifth. He's pretty much the same size as Scotty. Maybe a little more on the weight side, but similar to Scotty. And
Hmm.
he's averaging, 16, 17 rebounds a game. And when
It's
you think about it,
ridiculous.
the pace of the game was a lot slower. So it's not like
Hmm.
Andre Drummond, in this year, averaging 15 rebounds a game. Well, yeah, there's, 50 more shots that go up a game. Like, so Rodman's bringing down most of the rebounds in the game, like, which is
Yeah,
insane. But that's, not only effort, but like I said, just the whole basketball IQ, aspect of it is really amazing. Um, I found it crazy that he could go, take his little trip in to Vegas in the middle of the season,
Right?
I mean
and
they still had to go get him, but still like
right,
he came back and he still was like conditioned, like bro, after doing only
Productive
Lord
member of the
knows
team.
what.
yeah, and I mean, and you would think that Rodman traditionally would be, this big extrovert and this huge personality and all this stuff, but you guys saw the conversations where like Rodman didn't really say much. Like, he was pretty
Yeah.
quiet, he was pretty introverted. He'd come in, he'd take care of his business, when it comes
Yeah,
to playing basketball, and that was about
Hmm.
it. He didn't have that many conversations with Jordan. He didn't have that many conversations with anybody really. That was pretty crazy to see.
because you
I
couldn't drink at
liked
practice. I'm
Right.
kidding.
I liked that story that Jordan also told about how one day Rodman had just like didn't show up to a game, or not, like he showed up to the game but he just did not perform, and he showed up to Jordan's hotel room with some cigars, and they didn't even have to like Rodman didn't even have to apologize. Like,
Right.
that gesture in and of itself, because Rodman was such a reserved person and, didn't
Jordan knew what it was without
exactly.
it being, verbalized.
Exactly. And to have, I'm sure to have that type of relationship with a teammate is, it feels great. Knowing that, all right, you messed up, and from here on out, like you've showed up.
Yeah.
And you acknowledge the fact that like you didn't show up in the ways that in which you needed to. And
Yeah. And what I found interesting is because when he first got to Chicago, he was so different than the personality of the team. Yet, you
yeah,
heard Pippen say he fit
he
like a
blended
glove when he
right
came in.
in.
Like, he fit right in. He was exactly what they needed. So
Yeah,
it's cool, and I think that did a lot for his image as well, because the
true.
antics that he had in San Antonio, just looked like he was gonna kind of be on his way out of the league, and no
Yeah,
one wanted to touch him, anything like that. But I think Chicago, first and foremost, they realized what he did back in the late '80s against them,
yeah,
but realized he was still capable of doing those things and a lot more. So I'm glad he got that opportunity in Chicago and got him 3 more chips out of it. He's a 5-time champion.
5 times.
Man,
Legend.
yeah.
Exactly.
So I guess let's transition to Phil, since Sakani, you kind of started to a little bit. What do you guys think about
Mhm.
the whole background behind Phil? I didn't realize personally that he was an assistant coach on the Bulls before he inherited, the
Full-time
head coaching
position.
job. So I didn't realize he was on Doug Collins' staff. And lightweight snaked his way in, let's be real. But
I
what
mean,
what do you
was it
guys
a
think about
snake
that?
position? Because I feel like, from what I remember hearing, was that, um, oh man, what's the owner name?
Jerry Reinsdorf,
Is it Reinsdorf?
Kraus.
or
It's
are you thinking
Kraus.
of the GM
Mm,
Kraus?
Kraus. I guess it is Kraus.
That's the
Um,
GM, yeah.
Yeah, because he liked
when
Phil a lot.
exactly, but there was
I think
another
he had
assistant
Doug
coach.
Collins on like a timetable, no?
Um, I'm hearing all these coaches' names, and I'm like, Doug Collins. He sounds like a recent coach.
Tex. We think the
Oh,
Tex.
well,
No, no,
Tex
no.
Winter was the assistant coach that kind of helped develop the triangle, but
Exactly, and that's what I'm
Doug
talking.
Collins was the head coach when
Yeah.
Jordan
Yeah, Doug
was
Collins.
37.
But I'm thinking the GM liked Tex and wanted the triangle to be implemented in the offense, and so
Doug Collins didn't.
Doug Collins didn't want, like he was saying, get that out of here, and then
Yeah.
Phil, still studied how to do how to run the triangle offense, because obviously it was clear that that's what their team was like really missing, and like being able to institute that into uh, or with the players that they had, change the way in which the team played. And as they said, like by year 2, or after once year 2 came, that they were implementing that offense, they knew that they were unstoppable.
Yeah, I know. And what I found interesting, the reason I said he kind of snaked his way, and maybe he didn't actually do anything. Maybe it was just, it was kind of obvious that something was going to be happening because, they asked Doug Collins and he was like, I just had a feeling. He wouldn't go into detail when they interviewed him. He was just like, I just had a feeling that, that was going to happen, that Phil was going to be the next
Oh
head coach.
yeah, that's what he
So
meant, or that's the impression you got from that.
A little bit. I think it's a combination of that, but then also Jerry Krause had a good working relationship with Phil at the
Well, he
start.
brought him
He
in,
liked,
right?
yeah, they brought him
Yeah,
in. I mean, he liked Phil a lot. So I think probably a little bit of how Phil was, impacting the team, along with, organization's nudge or whatever, and probably giving him credit and things like that. I think some of that had a little bit to do with, hey, well,
I
here's Phil.
I think I agree, and I think that he had the trust of the players. And Michael, I think, mentioned. Well, I think he had mentioned to Michael, like, "Hey, we're gonna need to like implement like other plays, so just like teams Like we have to figure out other ways to score so teams
Yeah,
don't figure us out. And
Exactly.
I'm pretty
he said
sure,
he
like,
he said he didn't like that at first though, right? Because he's
yeah,
like,
Yeah,
"You taking the
because
ball
it
out of
took the
my
ball
he
out.
hands."
took the ball out of his
Exactly.
hand, but then he grew to understand like why later. And then the
Exactly.
relationship between
Because Phil averaged 30.
Tex Winter and Doug Collins had soured, so I think he kind of like helped get. Well, I shouldn't say that. I don't know. It's all speculation. I have no research on that. But I mean, if it were me, I'd probably get them on my side. You know, so it'd be like a clearer choice who to choose.
Yeah. And I mean, obviously the Bulls picked right. You get 6 championships out of it. So I think, long term it was the best decision. Um, Doug Collins was a good coach. I mean, they had some success, but he didn't get them to where they
Over
needed to
the
be,
hump.
You need to be
either.
exactly.
And there's probably no guarantee that he would have gotten to that point if he had the time that, Phil had with the team either. Scotty said completely different approaches, that they had. So I think, Phil just had the right approach. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Definitely.
also later, I think it was in episode 4, that's when they talked about really that rivalry that the Bulls had with the
With the
Pistons.
Pistons. Yeah.
Which I think when people think about, oh, well, that's how I want basketball to be. Basketball used to be physical and all this stuff. I think they think back to that kind of rivalry. Um, I enjoyed that part a lot because I've always known, what the Jordan rules were and things like that. You always heard the term. I kind of, understood what it meant when they explained what that meant. Um,
Hmm.
but I appreciated not only how basically Jordan took it upon himself to get the whole team toughened up. Like he said, it wasn't just him. He said, all y'all, gonna get in shape. All you guys are gonna lift weights. All you guys are gonna stop whining. We're just gonna tough it up and not let them see us be weak.
That's such a crazy way to like win, though. I mean, because normally nowadays you would be like, well, obviously the league is more hands on with it, but I mean, I feel like players are way more now vocal about like those types of fouls because I think people say it's a softer league, right? Okay, you can argue that, but there's a lot more money at stake now. And like, if a guy gets a flagrant foul, a flagrant 1, a flagrant 2, and he can't even run his endorsements for the next 4 months or whatever months, that's money out of his pocket, or just like being like just playing in general. You miss games, and that can affect outcomes of games or win totals. So I think yes, it's good that we have those to like reference, and that's that era, and it'll forever be that era. I mean, playing in that era it definitely will toughen you up, but I would say the NBA was smarter to go away from that because one, you want to watch a basketball game, you don't want to watch the guys beat each other up. You can go to MMA or boxing or even hockey for like stuff like that. I mean, you want hard. You're gonna see hard fouls from time to time, but like a lot of those plays that the Pistons were just defensive plays that they were running. Like you seeing guys not even trying to go for the ball. You just knock them out the air. Like, and they made it known. So it's just interesting to see that type of basketball being played and being discussed too.
Right. Yeah. I mean, don't get me wrong. I think, some of the toughness, aspects and stuff like that in the league, it is nice to see those things carry over throughout generations. But at the same time, just like everything else in life, it evolves. So,
Yeah.
the NBA has evolved, over the years because it was smart to evolve. You're not going to give the same product that you gave back in the 80s because that's not it's not what your fans are looking for anymore. You realize, hey,
Right.
our fans care more about scoring, they care more about dynamic plays. Well, let's space out the floor. Oh, 3-point line, let's back up 3-point line. All kinds of different things. So long term it was just better for the NBA to go that route. um, do I think that sometimes they go a little bit too far with limiting the physicality? Sure. But Brandon, like you said, to your point, they do have to preserve the future and protect their players as well. They can't afford to. How bad would it look on the league if, something was to get out of control and, uh, LeBron's eye socket got popped or something like that, like fracture. You know what I mean? Like,
I mean, and there's those worst case scenarios too, where you can like guys have career ending, incidents stuff. I mean, anything could happen.
Rudy Tomjanovich almost died on the court in a fight. Like, so it just
like
had to
that.
move forward.
No.
Yeah.
What'd you say, Sekani? Did you say with a name like that? What?
That's all I said.
I want to hear the punchline, bro. I'm mad.
Right.
Funny.
So I guess before we move on from The Last Dance, I know one of the things they talked about a lot was at the end, once the Bulls finally beat the Pistons in the playoffs and moved to the finals, there was a whole controversy that the Pistons, walked off the court, didn't shake their hands before the game was over, or before the series basically was over. What's your guys' reactions to that? What do you got? How are you guys feeling about that?
Yeah, I mean, they were sore losers.
Yeah,
it's not like losers. It's not. I don't think it's really anything to discuss. We know that they're champions. They'd won it 2 years in a row. They felt salty that this team, like this little brother team to them, had finally beat them. So they walked off the court without, showing good sportsmanship. I think we've all had those moments. The fact that they collectively as a team decided to do it, I think is, interesting. But at the end of the day, I don't think it's the worst thing in the world. They didn't shake their hands.
Right. Yeah. And I mean, I feel you. I mean, I share the same sentiment. I just wish that, and obviously they're not going to do this because, it's Jordan and the Bulls that are basically producing all this content and,
exactly
what goes out. But Jordan had said before Game 4, I think a day before Game 4, the closeout game, that, the Pistons were undeserving champions. They were bad for basketball. All these kind of basically just disrespectful comments, not acknowledging the Pistons as legitimate champions.
Yeah.
I'd be a little salty about that. Maybe not to the point where I'm walking off, because at the end of the day, they got their butts kicked. They got swept. So if you're walking off after you lost, 4 games in a row, my thought process is you're just salty because you got your butt kicked.
Exactly.
Not any comments that were made or whatever the case is. So I think it's a kind of a cop out for them. But to be fair, Jordan did say that, and I could see how someone could be upset about that.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, yeah, I see what you mean. Like, the way I felt is like what Sekani said, they were sore losers. But if you beat somebody 2 years in a row and then they beat you, it's like, bro, shake their hand. Like, you win some, you lose some. Like, the rivalry between and you like all those hard fouls, like you took all that punishment and went back and like just got stronger so he could like dominate. And like we were saying earlier, how the whole team, Sid, you said he made the whole team tougher. Like it's tough.
That was like the mentality of the whole
team.
Wasn't it? Like BJ Armstrong had said that after that series, like the whole team was just like, no, we're not going on vacation. They just went straight back to work.
Yeah, yeah. And it'd be like that. You get tired of losing.
Yeah.
So for them to like just walk off and like not even like dap them out. Like, you know what I mean? You ain't gotta sit there and like hugging and blah blah blah. Like,
yeah. But yeah,
and then
I would yeah, go ahead.
Go ahead, bro.
I was just gonna say I would definitely get tired of losing to the same team as well. You got to change things up. It's like it reminds me of Pedro Martinez when he was playing for the Red Sox, and they used to ask him about the Yankees, and the Yankees would always get on him during the playoffs and stuff, and he was like, well, I call the Yankees my daddy. Like, it's like that's basically what the Pistons were becoming, because it was 3 years in a row actually they beat them in the playoffs. So it's like,
yeah, exactly.
I can't do this no more. I'm not just gonna lay down and let you guys walk all over us every
exactly.
end our season every year.
Every year,
basically.
And then I feel like that was also a really a bad cop out for them to bring up the fact that, oh, the Celtics did it, so we did it.
It was. It was.
Yeah.
I mean, the Celtics did just
so
the
petty.
Celtics deserve scrutiny for that if you're gonna criticize the Pistons for it. But you can't just say, well, they did it, why can't I? Nah.
Yeah.
It don't work that way.
No,
You know,
I
that
think
was
he said he said that's what I thought how it was done during those times. Like what? Like he
that.
couldn't
No,
have made
he
a
didn't say that's
decision.
how he thought. He said that's how it was done
Oh,
during
that's
those
how.
times.
Oh, well,
You know,
But the
the
Bulls shook
Celtics
hands
did
with
it to
them.
us every time that they lost. Yeah, exactly. Bulls shook
Yeah, the
hands with
Bulls
them
shook their
every
hands
time they
every time.
lost.
No.
But for some reason, they couldn't return that same courtesy.
Yeah.
Like,
And
just because you're the champs and you lose doesn't mean you then treat the next person who's coming up behind you like as if they didn't beat you or work their butts off to.
right.
That you got swept.
Yeah.
And
just a random side note. Isaiah Thomas, every time I look at him, he just doesn't look like a trustworthy dude. You know what I mean? Like he just has like that like con man look, like, bro, nah, I don't rock with you. Like he
looks like a snake.
Time.
He's petty.
He looks like a snake.
He's petty McGee, bro. Because I was talking to Sekani about that. I was like, you think he got that like? Well, he's not short. He's 6. What you said he was?
6'1".
He's
6'1".
I said little man syndrome, but like, I think he's just big petty. Like that's just his. That's the way he roll.
Yeah, but nah, I just don't trust him every time I see him. Like,
Yeah,
bro, you could say this with a smile on your
even
face,
after
but
that,
like I don't rock with you.
Well, I don't know if this was recently said by Isiah Thomas in The Last Dance. I don't remember this quote, but recently it surfaced because of like those 2 episodes that he said that Wilt Chamberlain was a GOAT more so than Mike because they had changed. No, he said that Wilt Chamberlain had told him that MJ
the rules were changed.
Was changed to help MJ, and they were changed not to help me, essentially.
Right.
I heard
that Wilt Chamberlain said that, like.
Yeah. And Isaiah Thomas also said, and Bill Laimbeer has said recently that they think LeBron is the GOAT. So they're big petty. Big petty.
I just don't like Mike.
Right. They just don't.
They don't. To this day.
To this day. I mean, Isaiah Thomas is still mad that he wasn't on, on that dream team.
Man.
So he's holding on to a lot. He is. I mean,
somebody need to pray for Isaiah Thomas.
Yeah, but who would have thought like a 2-time NBA champion would be so salty?
Beast.
Wow.
Who was the other point guard on that team?
Ooh, what's his name?
John Stockton.
John.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's disrespectful.
He should have been. He should have been on the team. He should have been.
Yeah. Hey, put some respect on John Stockton. Man.
John has 0 rings. I'm sorry. No.
I'm kidding. He was nice.
He's
though.
not a Hall of Famer.
And he's still all-time,
I mean,
all-time assist.
Yeah, exactly. He's a Hall of Famer, one of the greatest point guards ever. But I'm sorry, Isaiah is. I will take Isaiah any day before I take John Stockton.
Oh yeah, no, without a doubt, without a doubt. I mean, I've never heard anyone say that John Stockton is the second best point guard of all time. But I hear that about Isaiah Thomas often.
And like, yeah, to have
not Bob Cousy.
Stop.
Steve Nash.
Whew. Yeah. He's not. He's not. You know that those 2 MVPs might say something. That's like, dang. Like, would you rather have 2 MVPs or 2 rings?
2 rings by far.
Yeah.
Because I mean, like,
that's more of a legacy.
Nash, but time out. Had
it's
Steve Nash won those 2 rings, but not had any MVPs, would he be a Hall of Famer?
Yep.
You think so?
Yeah, I think so. Because he would be more respected as a elite point guard. I think 2 rings would put him above John Stockton. John Stockton was never MVP.
Mario Chalmers has 2 rings.
Well, yeah, but everyone knows that Steve Nash was the engine that drove those teams, every team he played on. So except for the Lakers.
I
But
mean, was he the engine on the Mavs?
maybe not the engine. They were a very good team.
Mm-hmm.
It was him and Dirk, but those
Yeah.
Suns teams were Steve Nash. It was a Steve Nash show. So if he would have gotten 2 rings out of that era, MVPs don't matter. You could give those to Kobe. You could give those to Kobe. You could give those to Shaq, and no one's gonna hold that against you because hey, it was Kobe and Shaq. You know what I mean?
Like, but so I'm gonna ask you this: is Chauncey Billups is he a Hall of Famer?
How many
Chauncey
does
had a lot
Chauncey
of
have?
down years.
You don't think
Yeah,
Nash had down years?
Well, no, I mean like when you're talking about Chauncey's down years, like think about all of his years. What teams did he play for before he even went to Detroit? Like,
He was
who remembers
drafted
those?
by Detroit. He was drafted by Detroit.
No,
But,
he played for the Celtics.
Oh,
He
he
got
did?
drafted by the Celtics. Yeah.
My apologies.
He played for the
But
Celtics. I think he played for the Nuggets a go around before he went back the second time too.
snap. Let me
But
check
yeah, I
this
mean,
out right now.
nobody really knew Chauncey Billups, in those first years until he got to Detroit. And then he became Mr. Big Shot.
Because in Detroit, they went to the Eastern Conference Finals. I think it was 5 or 6 years in a row.
Yeah.
So I mean, like, I guess he was in the mix. I'm about to check. Celtics, Raptors, Nuggets, Timberwolves, Pistons, Knicks, and Clippers.
Yeah, I mean, he played on 4 teams before he even went to the Pistons.
Yeah, you're right.
He was becoming a journeyman already.
A year on each of those teams. Then the Magic, Timberwolves, and then after the Timberwolves, spent 7 years or 6 years. And
So 5 teams before the Pistons.
Wow.
Yeah, see that's wild.
Yeah.
But no, I mean I don't know. I'd have to go back and look at Chauncey's resume honestly. Like, what are his career averages?
I think like
I'd
maybe
probably say they like
17, if that much.
I think he might be in the Hall of Very Good, maybe.
That's
Like-
not disrespect, but it's just funny.
Yeah,
It's just
you're just well respected as a very good player.
yeah.
But you're not a Hall of Famer.
Who's another player like that? Like everybody
Um,
just respects Jamal Crawford, or is Jamal Crawford a future Hall of Famer?
Ooh.
He might be
He's got-
because of his 6-man status.
Yeah, he's got 3 of them.
But like another person in the Hall of Very Good would be like a Jerry Stackhouse, a Grant Hill. Like Grant Hill because of
Grant
injury.
Hill's in the Hall of Fame though.
Is he? Oh, well, because of college basketball. Very decorated college basketball athlete. But a Jerry Stackhouse, for example, where dude was averaging like almost 30 one year. You know what I mean? He had some solid seasons, but he was just never he was never that dude, like ever.
Y'all remember NBA Ballers?
Yeah.
I remember playing with Jerry Stackhouse on NBA Ballers.
Yeah. Man.
NBA Street.
All right.
That one too.
They should bring back NBA Street.
They really should.
If EA Sports wants to revive their brand, just bring back all the streets. Bring back NFL Street. Bring back
Street.
NBA Street. You'll be good. Multi-billion-dollar industry.
They should make a like a mod or cheat code or whatever.
It really should. Somebody should develop a mod pack.
Yeah.
No, but to where you could where it's like you can actually like really hurt somebody, like prison rules, like almost Mortal Kombat
in 2K.
Yeah.
And you know what? They probably would do it too, because I remember Fight Night Champion, their little career mode. That's how the guy starts. He starts like doing like a bare knuckles fight in prison. Like, so,
it'd be funny.
And that was like the last great video game that they made too, was Fight Night Champion. Everything else after that by EA Sports has been caca.
I mean, they got Madden.
Caca.
Okay.
Oh man, I wouldn't know.
if 2K Sports revived their football franchise, they would be shitting on EA Sports.
It was like
For real?
ESPN, wasn't it?
Yeah,
It was like
2K5 with TO on the cover.
I remember
People still say that's the best video game of all time.
that.
Like, or best
Mario
football,
who?
Video game. Mario.
Yes.
Yeah. All right. Well, I guess y'all want to segue into some NFL talk.
Yeah.
All right. Well,
Yeah.
or are we sticking to NBA?
No,
Now we
get
can do
into this.
NFL.
Yeah, we can get into
Okay.
this.
Or did you want to talk about the
Draft
big threes? Those
Yeah, I mean we can talk about threes.
championship winning big threes. So I was thinking we could rate them. Which ones we think were the best? I'm sorry, I got
Best big threes to never win.
yeah.
So best big threes to never win. So I know it was posted by Bleacher Report. Some of the big notable big threes on there. They had Blake Griffin, Chris Paul, and DeAndre Jordan. They had Serge Ibaka, Kevin Durant, and Russell Westbrook. Steve Nash, Sean Marion, and Amari Stoudemire. I don't have it in front of me, so I don't remember the rest of the ones beyond that.
John Stockton, Karl Malone, Jeff Hornacek. You got Peja Stojakovic, Chris Webber, Vlade Divac. So we could switch them around if y'all want. So
I'm gonna
remember
say
we
this.
said instead of Vlade, we wanted Mike Bibby, right? I'm part of that big three.
Yeah.
I'm gonna throw this big three in there as well. Charles Oakley, Patrick Ewing, and
John Starks.
Starks.
Yes.
Hey, I never realized how soft Patrick Ewing was.
I didn't know he was
How
soft.
soft he was. Like, I mean, every time I think of Patrick Ewing,
Bro, what?
and I see stuff involving him, it's him
He's
getting
getting
dunked
yammed on.
He's getting dunked on, or I think it was one year that they should have beat Indiana, and he had that little bunny at the rim, laid it up and missed it when he should have dunked it.
And then like crucial
Tim Duncan in 2013.
No. It was different. Way different. Way different. Don't be disrespectful to the best power forward of all time. That's
people always play the one that Mike dunked on him when he goes baseline, but the one that Scotty did was way worse to me because he
pushed him.
Yeah, because when I remember hearing Scotty talk about it before, he said he tried to grab me and I didn't want him to grab me, so I just like moved him out the way.
But why you gotta walk over him like that, bro?
Yeah, exactly.
Purposeful, but no, that dunk is so hilarious and it's so clean.
Nah. But yeah. So okay, so we'll throw. Yeah, what are you saying, Scott?
I was gonna say, did Shaq ever get dunked on by Mike?
I feel like he did while he was with Orlando.
Yeah, I just never. I can't picture it in my head right now.
Same.
Yeah, I think he did while Shaq was with Orlando.
I wouldn't be surprised. That was just
like real young Shaq.
Right. All right. So out of those big threes, so we add in, Ewing, Oakley, and John Starks.
Oh wait. If that's the case, can we add Indiana in there?
So Reggie, who else?
Reggie,
Mark Jackson. Well, I don't know who that third would be, so never mind.
Rick Smits.
Again, yeah. All right.
Me not know them.
He's not big.
Right.
Well,
he is big. He was 7'4", so he's big.
Not that big of a player to where I know his name.
So who do we think? Well, which other ones were we going to swap around? You guys want for Ibaka? You was going to say James Harden or nah?
Nah.
Yeah, I mean.
Well, nah. I'm gonna say Ibaka was on that 2016 team that should have beat the Warriors. So
by then,
they were just
Houston,
as
right?
Exactly, and they were just as established, just as good to have been able to take on the Warriors.
I mean, it's kind of disrespectful not to mention him because we forget Serge is a champion too in his own right. So
yeah.
So who do we think is the best, like the most disappointing out of this squad? I mean, Oklahoma City comes to mind. But I mean, also I would say like that Blake Griffin, DeAndre Jordan, Chris Paul team, like that team should have won maybe 2, maybe. Like I would say at the minimum, if everything was clicking, I would say they would at least win 1 to 2.
Yeah, I'm
They
gonna
just
say the for me the most disappointing big three was the Suns' big three. So Steve Nash, Amari Stoudemire, Sean Marion. We just talked about Steve Nash, 2-time MVP, whether he deserved it or not. Um, and they always had like one of the 2 or 3 best records in the West. And that was when Lakers were hot, Spurs were hot, the Mavericks, and the Suns. So they were winning 60 plus games basically every season. They had the one year that ended up being unfortunate because I think Amari Stoudemire got suspended for a game after Robert Horry shoved Steve Nash into into the sideline.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
He stepped off the bench and got suspended. Yeah, that changed everything because the Spurs ended up winning that series. Which hey, I'll take it. But I think they're the most disappointing, and part of it is because they have probably one of the coaches that's the most disappointing as well. And he's still doing that in the league today, with the Rockets and Mike D'Antoni. So I gotta give it to that big three. I feel like they really never reached their potential. They should have gotten one championship, at least one, especially after the Lakers fell off, post basically 2004. They had their chance and they ruined it.
They had a window. I mean, but
what about you, Sekani?
when you think about the Spurs during that time, I don't know if I would have expected them to beat the Spurs.
They were the Spurs' hardest matchup though. They really were.
I
remember
just
they
like
were
Houston
one of the
is
best teams.
Yeah, but just like Houston is, or Golden State was Houston's, team
Running
to have
mate?
to beat.
Yeah.
Not even running mate. Like, I think every year we kind of felt like Golden State was still going to pull it out as much as even when that year that they had the 3-2 lead. I still didn't feel like Houston had it in the bag.
Well, what year is that? 2016. Like what year?
That was
Steph was
2017.
like at the peak. Whatever year he's at the peak of his powers. I was watching this guy on
2016.
on TV, like he's a cheat code. Like seriously. Like it doesn't matter. It didn't matter. Like that year, it didn't matter like what teams did because Steph, even Clay was playing like at a phenomenal level, and they were. I just remember watching them in transition. Like, good Lord, good luck keeping up with that team.
Seriously,
but yeah.
But no, I mean, I do feel you on the Suns though. They should have won at least one, just as much as these Rockets should win one. Although I wouldn't say they've had a consistent team for over 3 years during the James Harden era. So that's kind of tough to do.
Who's the better team though? Like the better big three out of all of them. Like, so if they face each other on the court, who would win?
I mean, one with KD is pretty unfair.
I was just going to say.
Yeah,
I mean, all of them in their prime though.
All of them in their prime.
So prime Steve Nash, prime Amari, prime Marion. What's the other ones?
I mean,
you got prime John Stockton, prime Karl Malone, Hornacek.
Jeff Hornacek.
Would you swap out anybody on that team? That I don't know who's on that Jazz team.
I feel like they didn't have a legitimate three. It was either him or Greg Ostertag. So they didn't really have any notable third person. Man, I don't know. I'm torn between the Thunder and the Sun. I mean, the Clippers' big three was the real deal as well, but I think it was more so just the depth of their team because they had a squad from top to bottom.
Yeah, that's when they Jamal Crawford was kind of running the show too, right? He
was running the second unit. They had Matt Barnes there. Eric Bledsoe was there. They had, Spencer
crazy.
Hawes, Lamar Odom. I think Nick Young was there for a minute. Like, that's when, like, they were getting all the players that were being bought out. Like, everybody was going to the Clippers.
Was Chris Kaman still there or no?
I don't think so at that point. I think he had moved on to, because he played with the Blazers for a little bit too. So I think he was with the Blazers
That's
at
right.
that point
For sure.
before he retired.
I pick OKC. You got KD, you got Russ, and you got Ibaka. They all can shoot threes. They all can score inside.
Russ can't shoot threes. Russ can't shoot threes.
Well, you can do everything else. He can yell at you at the 3-point line.
Because I mean, that was one of the main reasons why KD said he left, because guys couldn't shoot.
Did he say that from his
but yeah, I would
account?
have to. No, he said that on All the Smoke podcast.
From his burner
Dudes
account?
couldn't shoot. Dudes couldn't shoot. So he went to the best shooting team
Shooting team
ever assembled.
Because you can't have no.
Yeah, because we can win.
Yeah, facts.
Yeah.
But
I go.
I would have to. I think my choice.
Just say the Kings.
It might.
I want to say the Kings.
No. It might have to honestly be that Jazz team, because they went 6 games against the Bulls 2 years in a row. No, they went 5 games the first time in 6 years. But I mean, they went to the finals. Or Western Conference champs. I'd say they'd have to be the best team to not win one.
I mean, Karl Malone is second all time still in points. Like, that's a
Second all
crazy
time in points,
matchup.
along with the all-time assist leader.
And John Stockton. The only thing I would say is it's a matchup nightmare. So you got to think about it in those terms. Like, are we just gonna Okay, so would you have, if Russ is on Jeff Hornacek, is he scoring a lot, or is it just kind of, never mind. I'm just thinking he's not going to be as good as other players on, like, other teams.
For sure. I mean, I would have never, in my opinion, I would have never thought a player like Steve Nash would have 2 MVPs. But I mean, when you see him on the court, it's like, all right, well, I mean, you know what you're doing. You know how to play. So I feel like John Stockton is very much the same way, where it's like you might feel like his game is not going to be as explosive or as quick as Westbrook's, and it's not.
Yeah.
But he still knows how to do what he can do well, just like Nash knew how to do what
like
he
a Joe
can do
Ingles.
Well. I wouldn't even say a Joe Ingles. I wouldn't disrespect John Stockton like that.
No, I was for Hornacek. But
Hornacek, probably.
Yeah.
Joe Ingles or who's the other one on is it Bogdanovich?
Yeah.
Who's on
the one who can shoot from anywhere?
Yeah,
essentially.
Bojan Bogdanovich.
And he's on
so much.
Is he on the Bucks? I can't remember what team
I believe he's on the Jazz.
He's on the Jazz.
Oh, he is on the Jazz.
Yeah.
Who's on Sacramento?
That's Bogdanovich.
His brother?
I don't know if they're related.
Oh, it could just be a common line.
I really don't know. I never looked it up.
Yeah. Yeah, but my choice would probably be that
Jazz
team.
For sure.
Not your Knicks squad?
No.
Didn't they go like 5 or 6 games with the Bulls too in one series?
Yeah, but I feel like they still probably would have lost to the Jazz.
Because Patrick Ewing was soft.
If it wasn't us, it would have been the Pacers that they would have had to make it through, and I don't think they would have beat the Pacers.
Yeah. Because Patrick Ewing. Nice shoes, though. Nice shoes.
He just needs to start getting yams on.
Shout outs to Patrick Ewing.
Hey, them smooth.
I heard they have soft. I
Hack
heard they
people.
have soft insoles.
Yeah,
Super soft.
Ewing Athletics.
The softest.
And I guess we'll have to talk about Patrick Ewing later too, because it is kind of weird that he never gets brought up in those great centers, that great center discussion.
Which is crazy to me.
He never gets mentioned, though, ever. It's almost like Patrick Ewing didn't exist.
Didn't
except for
exist.
Space Jam. Like, existed in Space Jam, and that was it.
Basically.
So we're gonna have to talk about that at some point, like some forgotten legacies.
You know what
it
it is?
and pay homage.
It's because like I feel like the New York Knicks aren't relevant, so it's harder to tell their legacy, like, or to like have it recalled in like recent memory. And they've gone really long stints without winning a title, so I think that plays a big part in it.
Not
too.
even
Like,
that, they
have
haven't won a title like in years. Not even that they go stints without winning. They're still in the longest stint outside of who else in the NBA? The Hawks.
Jeez. But it's just crazy though, because when we talk about that era, we don't bring up his name first. We bring up hardly anyone won that era, but we bring up those names too. We bring up John Stockton, Karl Malone.
I bring up Spike before
Reggie Miller. Right, Reggie Miller. Some people bring up Clyde Drexler since they won, 94, 95. We bring up Penny. We bring up Shaq. We bring up Sean Kemp. We bring up Gary Payton. Like, when do you bring up Patrick Ewing? Like, yeah, so
we just don't.
Well, I think what it is, Patrick didn't make it to a finals. They had no MVPs on that team.
How many All-Stars has he had?
I'm pretty sure he was.
I'm not sure how many he had, but yeah, he was consistently there. A Joel Embiid of his time. Oh wow! Except he couldn't shoot like Joel.
He had a nice little jumper though. I remember him hitting some threes.
Really?
Yeah.
Joel Embiid.
He hit some. He hit some.
Hey guys, my battery's gonna die.
Bruh.
Oh, good excuse.
So I'm saying
Isiah Thomas.
Hey,
if you want to get off the podcast, you can get off the podcast, man.
It is. I can take a screenshot, bro. Nah, but y'all want to talk about, or we can save it for another episode, and this can just be an NBA episode. But like
I think it'd be good to have Carl in on that. Like
the CDM.
Well,
NFL
just not even
stuff.
CDM, but just the NFL stuff, because we're both Dallas fans, and then we have one.
For sure.
One other team. Whatever team that.
Yeah. 2015 Super Bowl
Broncos.
champs. 2021 Super Bowl champs. Yeah, I said it. But yeah, no, I agree with you. That could probably be something we could just say for when.
It'd be good to have Carl's insight on how the Rams are doing, so that way at least we can, bring this up come football season.
Yeah, for sure. Cool. All right, so yeah, I guess that's gonna wrap up another episode. Check us out on YouTube, all your favorite podcast listening platforms. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, all that good stuff. Y'all got anything else?
Stay
to
safe,
add?
y'all. Stay safe.
Yes.
Still, I know it's still crazy times, but stop watching the news. Stop getting caught up in all the negativity that the news brings.
You got to take it in pieces. Get what you need, get out. Like, don't get so caught up on, all, like you were saying, all the negative stuff.
Yeah.
A lot of it's out of your control, and just continue to do, things that will keep you and your family safe.
Right. Take your vitamins, y'all. That's legitimate.
That part.
Take your vitamins. Make sure your immune system is good. We'll be healthy. But yeah, we appreciate all y'all who have continued to listen, still listen, have us in your rotation.
Appreciate that. All right, well, till next time, y'all. Peace.
All right, we'll see you.